then it just became this massive cavalcade of fallen trees. What I'm thinking of doing is going down tomorrow with chainsaws. We'll just leave the vehicle here and we'll just do as much track clearing as we can, and we have another trip planned in a few weeks, so that might be the chance to actually make it all the way through. Hey, someone looks ready for a bit of action.
Yes, full of
Don't look, you can't look weary already.
just carrying it, yeah. We'll get there.
Around. Look at these.
Orchids.
Orchids.
Yes, native orchids.
Wow.
They come up with a really small flower.
We've reached the bottom of the first hill where the main creek or river is just over there. We can hear it. And so we're in a little pine forest here. And this is the most amount of fungi that I've seen in one place. It's just carpeting the floor, all this bright stuff. Thankfully it doesn't smell. It's not like some of those toadstools. So yeah, wow. I mean, it's almost a bit like coral. Forest coral. If it hasn't been named, I'll name it. Coral fungi. Forest coral fungi. There we go. Give that to the botanist. Well, there's another word for those. Taxonomist. I remember I went on a multi-day hike with a taxonomist, and I'd have chats with him. I'd say, well, what's this? And he'd say, well, that's in the Latin name, da-da-da, and da-da-da. So, okay, well, now you've given me the name. That doesn't really mean much. What can you tell me about it? When does it flower? And he'd go, oh, that's all I know. That's what I do. Like, you're pretty... But no, I'm sure they play a very important role, so I don't want to say that. Actually, I don't know if you could toot your cap up a little bit. You can do that if you want.
I'll just take it off.
It's a lot better.
What? With the bald spot on the top?
No, basically the cap was just making your eyes all dark.
Okay, we've just played with the fungi back under the pines, and we've come across an original park feature. People used to come down here when it was more accessible, and they camped beside the river, which is over here. And they built themselves some humpies, and they built themselves some beds to stay under the pines, which are here. This is how long ago it's been doing, so it's been a few years since anybody's been here, and they're now falling to pieces.
So how did they make them?
With wood, wire, and like the old scouts used to do.
Can you show me a bed? When you say humpy, yeah, what's a humpy?
This is more than likely a humpy where people used to sleep under.
Well, you reckon they had a roof on them too?
Yeah, and if you have a look here, at the side, they've got long beams, and then they've got cross beams, as in a bed.
Okay. So
and they're held together with wire and rope, as you can see there.
Yeah, that's like the kind of rope that some fishermen use, but...
No, it's stuff that people buy for $2 at the $2 shop, and they buy it by the 5 rolls. Easy disposable.
This one looks a bit more intact.
Yeah, that's actually a better example of the bed. Because from the side you can actually see that it was covered in ferns for comfort. You see the fern stems there where they had it as bedding, and that was the long stems, and then you've got the cross beams, and that was done up there. And in all likelihood, the top
okay.
they would have had is just a piece of ground sheet over the top.
So you kind of build it up. You start out with some main beams, and then you have
And you're about a foot off the ground, so you don't get wet.
about a foot off the ground, and then you have these. Do you want to point them out?
Okay. This is the support for the bed.
That's it. Yeah, and the roof too.
And the roof. And they tied it up to the tree.
Oh yeah, okay.
They had these long ones here. They had a cross beam like you have in your normal bed to support the long pieces. This is the long piece, and these are your slats.
And then on top of the slats you have.
And as you can see here, on top of the slats, you have fern fronds to make it nice and comfy.
And then on top of that you'd actually have the fern leaves.
Well, fern fronds, yeah, the big long fronds that we've seen.
They might have separated the leaves from the fronds and had the stalks, and then had this.
They just want to put it down. It's too much work.
Ah, okay.
They just cut the branches off, lay them down, and that's what's left. The rest of the fern leaves have already rotted away. It's been quite a while since this was done, so the actual wood itself is starting to rot away. It's lost its support from beside the tree.
Yeah, maybe they tied off to that branch.
That's broken off, or the one
Broken
above.
off.
It doesn't really matter. It's just there as a bit of.
Yeah.
And that looks like quite a good fishing spot down there as well. So
there might have even been fishermen and not four-wheel drivers.
But it's still, they may not have, but it was a park. So all sorts of people use the park, not just four-wheel drivers.
Yeah.
But these guys are ingenious. I think they were Boy Scouts, because that's the thing that you do in Boy Scouts.
Ah, okay, Boy Scouts.
Yes.
So yeah, not Aboriginal.
No, not Aboriginal.
Boy Scouts.
Aboriginal wouldn't have gone to that trouble. They would have been up on dry ground. And I can't see a fire pit, so the fire pit was in the middle of the trees.
You reckon?
That would have been where they had the fire pit. Look, they've got their logs there to sit on.
Gee, that's a little fire.
Oh, not really.
Yeah, if you're sitting on that log, your legs are almost in the fire.
Well, that looks like a fire where they had the fire.
So you could cook the fish.
And if you have a look over there...
You can sit on your humpy. That's the humpy there.
Over there, if you have a look over there, that's a bit more permanent bed. Because they use a bit more serious. They use the full logs instead of just the little supports.
Well, if they did have a fire in there, it's an interesting place for one. I mean, they could have even, cooked the fish, smoked the fish, or... I don't know if you can see any evidence of coals in there.
No, you can't, because all the branches and everything have dropped down.
Yeah.
But that's more than likely where you would have had the fire.
Well, it's such a lovely spot. I'm really not surprised that people used it.
And if you have a look up top, there's no branches to catch the fire flame. It's hollow in the middle.
Just having a look at the river down there. I just can't
stop yourself.
Can't stop myself. Strangely, it seemed to be changing
colour,
brightness. So actually, okay. So this is. It certainly does look like that. I totally agree with you that it seems like underneath this section where you reckon there's an old fire. I mean, in the image it might not look like. But
there's no branches to catch fire.
There are no branches to catch fire, so they either just burnt them or they climbed up there and knocked them off.
If they used it regularly, they most probably did.
The smoke might have been enough to sort of kill them off.
If you have a look at the branches on the trunk, they look like they've been snapped off. They may have fell naturally, but they look like they may have been worked on. It's been quite a while. There's a 4 and a 10.
A tin. Now that could be interesting evidence. Well, neither the fork nor the tin have been burnt. Oh, well, I guess there could have been a cannery down here. They caught the tuna and canned it. Just kidding, of course. I guess it means that they like to fish, but they don't necessarily catch any. Well, anyway, whatever the story there, we're going to keep rolling on. Well, we've made our way to the large obstruction where there's so much timber down, and that's what made us make the final decision that we weren't going to get through on this trip. This, believe it or not, is the actual track. This is where I walked through when I came here about 2 years ago. And so, I mean, maybe that fell not too long after I went through. It looks like it was never a track. But it's a beautiful little section. It drops down through a cutting, and there's a creek that went across the track. It wasn't that deep, but it's just a beautiful little flowing creek. And now to this side is actually, someone has made a way around it, but there's actually a wall of dirt. It's very steep, and there's also some trees over that too. So I'm kind of, if I re-establish that, well, it's always going to be a winch pretty much, unless you got tracks or something, So I'd rather re-establish the proper track than try and re-establish something that's always going to be a winch and isn't the proper track and isn't as beautiful. So the chainsaw's ready to go, so we'll see what it looks like when I'm done.
Time for convincing. Oh, underneath there's figs on a fig.
We'll come back and there'll be fig trees.
Well, that will do.
We'll come back and there'll be fig trees. Oh, I've got a friend.
They must be here. Here. Third leech for the day.
Come on, we gotta do this, we gotta do this. Fight to the death. Come on, come on.
You're still wiggling.
Yeah, it's like Monty Python where he chops his arms and legs off. He says, come on, fight me.
The night.
I got nuts and I didn't bring them. I forgot to bring a spoon, so I used Brad's blunt Leatherman to whittle a makeshift spoon out of some bark. So is that kind of tastes alright? Does that make me kind of half Bear Grylls at this point in time? We actually, we've just been finding a few leeches, but I haven't eaten them. So I don't think I qualify for a Bear Grylls experience.
I think that's enough for lunch. no, when you cut it, it's going to drop into there, but you can haul it out that way.
This is pretty much how it looked at the end. Well, that was pretty much it for that day. The next day we bumped into some four-wheel drivers just near our camp. They had camped nearby and they intended to do this track. I gave them some information and we did a few local tracks. So that's in the next one, part 3.